Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. This is a community, a resource, and a support system. We're in this together. Do life.
Welcome to the Listen for Life Aphasia podcast. I am really excited to introduce you to John. John is a stroke survivor and he is a busy guy, and I can hardly wait for you to hear his story and the impact he's making not only for himself but for other stroke survivors. Welcome, John. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Genevieve. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. So, John, we met a few weeks ago. Would you
Right.
tell folks a little bit about how we met?
Well, Genevieve was on a stroke support group on Zoom. It's called Stroke Buddies. She was the guest speaker, and that's how we met. I loved her speech, and we're going to begin working together.
Yes, and we'll definitely talk about that before we go today. Would you first tell us a little bit about you, John? What's your background and how did you come to be involved with stroke recovery?
Well, my background is I'm the youngest of four boys. My mom and dad had four boys, and I worked for the state of California for 29 years. And I volunteer a lot, not only for stroke groups, but for a Kiwanis Club. And a Kiwanis Club is a service club helping people. Our major focus is children. So I love volunteering. Now that I'm retired, I can devote as much time as I want to it as necessary.
Love that. So, John, how did you come to be in the stroke survivor support group?
Well, Genevieve, thanks for asking that question. I had my stroke 7 years ago. It was a surprise to me, kind of a surprise, but not really, because my doctor warned me I had high blood pressure and to take the medicine, and high cholesterol also to take the medicine. I didn't listen to his advice. So when I had my stroke, I think my blood pressure was like 170 over maybe 70. Is really high. And if I would have taken the medicine like the doctor told me to do, I might not have had my stroke. So listen to your doctor, do what they say, and I'm not going to say you won't get a stroke, but it's a less of a chance you'll get a stroke if you listen to your doctor.
Now, I understand that there were some circumstances about the time of your stroke that helped you to lessen the symptoms and the complications. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, yeah, I exercise a lot. Exercise is important because I've ran some marathons, I think 5 of them. It's not fast, but I exercise practically every day, either online with a stroke support group or go to the gym and exercise with weights myself. And the doctor told me that was part of my recovery so quick because I was active. And that's an important thing to do. Stay active.
Now, where were you at the time when you had your stroke?
Well, I was at going to Kiwanis meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They met weekly at a restaurant. So my wife was out of town when it happened. I drove myself to the restaurant. I was fine. I turned on the radio in the car, singing along with the music. Not very good, but I was singing. I got there. I was fine. I walked into the meeting room, opened the door, and they greeted me. They said, "Hi, John, good to see you." I said, "Nothing." I opened my mouth and nothing came out. Right away, a couple people knew what was going on. The Be Fast, and we can go over that later. But that helped me because they knew the symptoms of a stroke, and they called 911 right away. They didn't call my wife. They didn't call friends. They just called 911, and the paramedics got there, I think, in 5 minutes, and I got to the hospital in 5 minutes. So I got the shot. It's called a TPA shot. There's a time frame for that. It's 4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
but I was with 4 hours because I had an ischemic stroke. I got the shot, and I was talking again. I say within the hour. So it wasn't serious. I was really afraid when they said I had a stroke because I misinterpreted the doctor. I thought he said I had a heart attack. And I said, I don't have heart problems. And he says, Mr. Brummer, we did your CAT scan and MRI. It doesn't show you had a heart attack. You had a stroke. So that was my fault. I listened wrong, but I had a stroke.
So, John, if we can take a moment, let's talk about the acronym Be Fast and why it's important to know it.
It's important because stroke is an emergency. It's not something you fool around with. You call 911 immediately, you don't delay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, stroke is an emergency. The Be Fast acronym means the letter B means balance, sudden loss of balance. Eyes. Do you see clearly? You have double vision or loss of vision. The F in Be Fast means face. You look at the smile. Do you have an uneven smile? That's a sign you're possibly having a stroke. A is for arm. You check if one arm is weak or not. Speech. So you need to listen for slurred speech or no speech at all. And the last letter in Be Fast is T, and that stands for time. It's important. I can't stress enough. Call 911 right away. Don't delay. So any of these could be signs of stroke, not one, not all,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe a combination. But you need to be aware of stroke. What I would do, I would go to the American Heart Association website, the American Stroke Association website, and print out something that says Be Fast or Fast is okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the old acronym. They've changed it, and print it out and put it on your refrigerator. It's important that your family know, your friends know. It could save your life.
Absolutely. So let's review. The B stands for balance. E stands for eyes. F stands for face. A stands for arm. There you go. S stands for speech. T stands for time because it's important if you have one of these symptoms or a bunch of them, call 911 can save your life.
It can. It will.
Yes. Great. Thank you for taking the time to go over that, John. I think it's really important. We'll link to those websites that you mentioned in the show notes, and also we'll reproduce Be Fast just so people can see it easily.
Also, I did a commercial at one time
That's right.
with 3 other people. If you want to watch that commercial, it's on YouTube under Kiwanis commercial, and that explains different things about stroke also.
Terrific. We will link to that in the show notes. That's wonderful. Thanks for making that, John.
Thank you.
Can we talk a little bit about what you did for yourself to work on your speech, specifically to slow yourself down as you explained it to me? I really want people to understand how creative this is and how you use it.
Okay, what I did when I first had my stroke, when I got home, my wife brought out my old Dr. Seuss books when I was a kid, and my grandson was with me. He said, "Grandpa, let's read a book." Well, I looked at him. I thought to myself, "Really?" Then I thought, he was my grandson. Let's read a book. So we read a book. He read some words. He was having trouble reading. So I said, I can do it. I couldn't read it because of my stroke. It didn't come out clear. As you know, Dr. Seuss books are tongue twisters. And when we were done, he said to me, "Grandpa, I'm 5 years old and I can read better than you can."
Oh.
I didn't take that offense because I knew his age and anything can come out of a child's mouth. But that was one of the most special moments of my life, reading with him, and he offered to help me read. So I really will never forget that. Another thing I did is I started a mock radio station. And what I mean by that, if you're on the Zoom call right now, you can do a Zoom call and use the app Spotify. That's a music site where you can listen to music. So because of my love for radio, I love old time radio, listening to music from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I thought, this might be fun. So I get Spotify up on my computer in Zoom. I begin to look for songs to make a playlist. So I made playlists. So I did a radio show. So let's say we're listening to music right now and it just ended. You can listen to Hotel California, and after the song plays, you announce, like our DJ does, you've been listening to Hotel California by the Eagles. And I tell a little bit about the Eagles, where they're going to appear in concert next. I do some research on the computer, and after that, I play another song, do the same thing. After that, I do a commercial. I write some phony commercials, or I record some from Zoom old time radio commercials. I play them, and it's just like I'm doing a shift at a radio station, a broadcast, and I love doing it. It's not work, it's fun. I mean, and it helps you with your speech when you announce the songs and you do some commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this doesn't go out to anyone to hear. It's just myself. But I listen back on it. I save it. I might play it 3 months later, and I do the same thing the next after 3 months. Then I listen for improvement, and it works because I practice every day doing it. And the last therapy I do, I love this one. Sometimes I get confused when I talk my words because it's hard to me to find some words sometimes to say. But this is what I do to slow down. So I'm going to say a sentence normally. Be fast. Balance eyes, face, arm, speech, and time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I do to slow down. See my hands?
Mm-hmm.
I move them down and up, down and up. So stroke is balance, eyes, face, arm, and time. By moving my hands this way, I slow myself down and I'm much better to understand my speech.
Mm-hmm.
So I do this. I speak in front of groups a lot. They don't see this, it's behind the podium, but I do this. John, slow down. If you slow down, they'll understand you. And what I've noticed for me, I think all stroke survivors, people want you to succeed. They don't want you to fail. And that's important. And that's my therapy. I don't go to a speech therapist. I think I went 5 times. And when I was talking again, the therapist says, you don't need to come any longer because you're speaking. But I wasn't satisfied. So I started the radio station and the exercises that I do to improve my speech.
I love that. So when I met you on Stroke Buddies, you had your Zoom background up, and that's when you
Right.
explained for my benefit to the group what
Yeah.
you had been doing, and then you also showed your pacing technique with your hands. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that, not only for slowing down, but it also gives you a pace and it's something to fall
Mm-hmm.
back on because you're used to doing it. I think it's
Yeah.
tremendous, John. Thank you for sharing those real insider tips with us.
Thank you.
So, where you live in Northern California, did
I live in
you
Lodi. Oh,
yeah, you live in Lodi or near Lodi, just
yeah.
outside
Well,
of Lodi, I believe. And did you have a stroke support group or how did you get connected with a community where you live?
well, like you said, I live in Lodi. Well, Lockford is a small town. I compare it to the Andy Griffith show. There's a big town of Stockton and Sacramento. Stockton to the south, Sacramento, the capital of California, to the north. In between, there's Lodi, which is like Mayberry. If you remember Andy
I
Griffith,
do.
where I live is Lockford. The population of Lockford is 3,000 people, and that's like smaller than Mayberry.
Gotcha.
We have one stoplight, and that's it.
Wow.
But so what I wanted to do, because where I lived in Sacramento for I think 65 years. I'm 68, and they had stroke support groups, and Lodi didn't. So I wanted to start one. So I went into a restaurant once, a deli, and I ordered something, and the manager says, "Can you repeat that?" I said, "Well, I can repeat it. Thanks for asking, but I don't speak clearly because I had a stroke." He says, "You know what, sir? My dad had a stroke. As a matter of fact, he had 7 strokes." I said, and she says, "I want to help you." I said, "Oh, thank you. How can I help you?" "Well, I want to start a stroke support group, but I don't have a place to meet in Lodi because the hospital won't do it." And she says, "Well, you can meet in my restaurant." I said, "What's the charge for the restaurant?" She says, "No charge. That's the way I want to help you. You can invite survivors here to attend the stroke support meeting, and they don't have to eat. They can just be here for the meeting. I want to make space available for you to do that." So what happened is I sent the newspaper, a small newspaper in town, the announcement of the stroke support group starting. And they said, "Well, that's great. Where do you meet? Blah, 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 blah." I told them, then they began to ask me questions about my stroke. I said, it's not about me, it's about the stroke support group. She says, "Okay." So they continue to ask questions. So 2 days later, I opened the paper. On the front page, Lodi stroke survivors tells the story. And they told my story about my stroke and wanting to get a new one started in Lodi. And when we did our first meeting, I think we had 3 people. That's okay, it's a start. But what happened is one of the attendees to the meeting was a nurse from the hospital. He says, "This is a good idea. Let's have the hospital take it over from you." Normally people would be mad at something like that happening. I wasn't, because I know by going to other stroke support groups, hospital doctors, nurses, they have more resources than I do. And right away we decided, let's meet at the hospital. I met someone from the hospital at the stroke support group. She was excited. I was excited. And for the first time yesterday, we met at the hospital. Unfortunately, we had 1 person attend.
Oh,
Me. But
that's,
you know what?
yeah.
That's okay, because it's just starting out. We're brainstorming ways to get the word out for the stroke support meetings. We do Facebook sometimes. We advertise in the paper. If anyone has any ideas, you can share my email.
Okay.
They can email me with ideas, and we'll go from there. But I'm so thankful for the hospital taking it over, and especially grateful for the owner of that restaurant that offered to start this group. And I never expected what would happen, and it's going to get greater and greater and greater. And like I say, it's never about me, it's about helping other people. That's my mission in life.
Love it, John. Well, yes, we will definitely post your email, and any ideas folks have, please reach out to John and help him really get this stroke support group off the ground. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about, why do you think, because I know you're involved in many of them, a lot online, why are support groups important?
Well, I think stroke groups are important because many times when you have a stroke, you feel alone. And meeting as a group, you're not alone. You're there with other people providing support, encouragement, and to get some education about stroke, not only for the stroke survivor, but for the stroke caregivers. The caregivers are a big thing. They have a tough job, and we appreciate them so much. I know I do, because without my wife and family supporting me and helping me, I wouldn't be here today. I think many of the stroke survivors, when we go to stroke support meetings, we become lifetime friends. You know, before COVID, I met in person as a stroke support group. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I think all of them shut down in-person meetings. But that didn't stop many nonprofits. I go to stroke support groups all the time with nonprofits being on Zoom. Zoom's a great resource. You can access the Pacific Stroke Association and the Southern California Stroke Association out of Long Beach. They do weekly meetings on Zoom. So you don't have to go anywhere if you don't want to do it in person. It's okay. You can sit in your bedroom like I am now and participate.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've made so many friends, lifetime friends now, on stroke support groups. We're like a family. When one of us miss more than one or two meetings, people are on the phone saying, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you feeling well? Did you have another stroke?" I didn't have another stroke. I had a cold, but I really thank you for caring.
That's right.
And stroke support meetings are a way to reach out to other people. And I love Zoom calls, and I'll love the in-person calls. I'm lucky I can attend the in-person meetings because I didn't get my driver's license taken away from me when I had my stroke. It was a minor stroke. Some people do.
That's right.
And they don't get it back. But who's to say they should miss out on stroke support meetings? They can all do it online.
Yeah, any kind of a smartphone, tablet, computer.
Oh, yeah.
Zoom is free.
And you don't have to be visual like we are. You can listen on your phone.
That's true too.
So, yeah.
So I want to just touch on a couple more points, John. We know that isolation is very common with stroke survivors and those also with aphasia. You know, any difficulty with their speech, it makes them not want to put themselves out there. And then, you know, sometimes the general public is not very accepting of, you know, someone that might talk slower or slurred or, you know, can't get their words out. So it's so important to have those friends, the people that will call and check on you, the support group, share information, share resources.
I agree. I mean, you can't be alone. When you have your stroke, you got to stay positive. I know it's tough sometimes. Be enthusiastic. You know, I had my stroke. I don't mope around my house feeling sorry for myself. I'm active. I go to my club meetings once a month. We meet once a month. I took a leadership position when I didn't want to because I was afraid to because of my speech, because I spoke at our club meetings all the time. I was in the top leadership position, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to embarrass myself or say I couldn't do it. Well, someone convinced me, said, John, do it. So I did it. And what happened is, at the end of the year, we have a year term, our club officers. I was awarded this distinguished award for leadership. And, I didn't expect that. I did that because I had a great group to work with.
Mm-hmm.
They were there for me. They wanted me to succeed.
That's right.
And that makes a difference. I mean, if people are on your side helping you, there's no reason why you can't succeed.
So I'd love to point out a few other online options some of our audience may not be aware of. First one, the one I met you through, was Stroke Buddies. Stroke Buddies has not only Facebook groups, and they have live meetings, and they talk about a variety of topics. And also Ralph Preston, who runs Stroke Buddies, has YouTube videos, everything from breathing, meditation, chair yoga. He's got it all going on, and he's a big proponent about doing it for yourself. You don't have to have fancy equipment. If you got a soup can and you can hold on to it, get working. Start doing your arm lifts. A couple of other resources, Virtual Connections by Lingraphica, that is more specific to aphasia, but they have conversation groups on a variety of topics. And the National Aphasia Association also has monthly groups on a variety of topics. I happen to be a co-host for the Journey Through Speech group that meets the first Friday of the month through aphasia.org. And what's fun about that group is participants share pictures of their travels, and they talk about what they did in these travels. And we love to talk about food. It's really fun to see food pictures from around the world and understand other cultures, and it's a great conversation opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So get involved, I think, is our take home message. Is that what you would say, John?
I would, and like I said before, stay positive. It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
You're not going to heal right away. I'm 7 years out. I'm still improving. I haven't healed completely yet, but that's okay. It's okay. I live with it. I'm not upset that I had a stroke. Maybe it was a good thing I had a stroke. People say, John, why do you say that? I say that because I didn't listen to advice from my doctor. If I would have listened to my doctor, who knows, I might not have had a stroke. I might have had a stroke. But listening to your doctor, and if you take medication, don't stop it yourself. Consult your doctor before you do. And that's important. Just recently, I had my prescriptions changed after 7 years because I've improved. So have your doctor reevaluate your medicines and your condition, and don't be afraid. And I think stroke support groups are essential for people to go to. It's really helpful, and the support you get, and it's really satisfying to me to meet with other people and see them improve. When I go to stroke support meetings, every meeting I go to, usually once a month. I see improvement in people all the time. And when I do, I make sure to tell them, good job. Keep working. You're doing great. Since the last time I saw you made so much improvement, and I'm proud of you. Many stroke survivors don't hear that word. I'm proud of you.
That's right.
And I think it's important to say that.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you are acknowledging the improvements, because as you probably have felt in your own recovery, you live with yourself every day. So you may not see those subtle things, but if someone sees you every 4 weeks, they go, "Hey,
Right.
John, you're really talking good today, bud," or, whatever it is, that they noticed.
And going to the stroke support groups, you get ideas on improving. Maybe someone else had a speech problem like I did. Maybe you can do like I did, slow
Mhm.
down. Maybe they have their method that would help me. And I'm open to that.
Love it. John, thank you so much for sharing your story. Be
Thank you.
fast. Your strokes of tips are resources for survivor support groups.
And Genevieve, thank you for offering me to be here. I wish you all the best in your journey, and stay well and stay positive.
We'll see you soon, John. I'll see you in a couple of weeks on your support group.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, John. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section. Wishing you a fabulous week.